maybe even what state you live in. Nice to know who's watching and where. We'll give everybody just a few seconds to join in for this discussion on an update on what's going on in Congress. We're going to talk about a few things. First, what's happening in Congress. Then we're going to talk about the top reasons to oppose red flag gun confiscation. So let's go ahead and start. Today I'm here to give you an update on the fight against gun control in Congress. And then I'm going to tell you about my top 10 reasons, or more than 10, to oppose red flag gun confiscation. But first, I need you to take action. Text red flag to 67076 to get involved in the fight. That's one word, red flag, to 67076 to get involved in the fight. Now, I need to give you an update on the gun control schemes happening on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. On Monday, President Trump seemed to have cooled off with his calls for universal background checks, which, remember, that's D.C. swamp speak for universal gun registration. However, on Wednesday, his narrative changed again, 180 degrees, and here's what President Trump said, quotes, "I have an appetite for background checks. We're going to be doing background checks. We're working with Democrats. We're working with Republicans. We already have very strong background checks, but we're going to be filling in some of the loopholes." Now that sounds like a universal gun registration scheme if I've ever heard one. In fact, it sounds like exactly the same bill Barack Obama and Harry Reid tried to pass in 2013. Even more ominously, yesterday, Politico claims that President Trump is planning to unveil a series of gun control proposals before Congress comes back in session. White House staff said President Trump is planning on closing so-called loopholes in the Brady-Nix registration scheme. Of course, once I get the full details, I'll update you immediately. Even Attorney General William Barr, who NAGR opposed because of his support for gun control in the 1990s, claimed that President Trump would get something done on guns. And President Trump isn't the only one pushing for universal gun registration. Senator Pat Toomey, a Republican of Pennsylvania, and Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat of West Virginia, have been talking to the media about reviving their failed universal gun registration bill, which NAGR members defeated in 2013. House Democrats are also doubling down their support for all sorts of radical gun control, even coming back to D.C. a week early to hold a gun control vote. Now, these bills include a ban on standard capacity magazines and even a House version of Senator Graham's red flag bill. They also want to expand misdemeanor crimes as a trigger for a lifetime gun ban. Now, the most concerning update I have for you is on the federal assault weapons ban bill. This week, it gained its 198th Democrat co-sponsor and its first Republican co-sponsor, Peter King of New York. That means it's just a few members shy of passing in the House of Representatives, and it continues to gain steam. So again, you can help fight back against these D.C. gun grabs by texting red flag, that's one word, red flag, to 67076. That's the way to get involved in the fight, but you can also do so by going to nationalgunrights.org. Now let me tell you some of the top reasons why red flag gun confiscation laws should be opposed at every level, especially in D.C. Red flag laws allow gun confiscation without due process of the law. Based on a mere accusation, your legally owned firearms could be confiscated by police with no regard to your Second or Fourth Amendment rights. Out of the 17 states that have this law on the books, none have due process. These laws simply state, take the guns first, due process later. If you want to get your firearms back, you have to pay tens of thousands of dollars in court fees, and you may not be successful. The bills being debated on Capitol Hill use federal tax dollars, your money, to bribe states into passing a grant program for red flag laws, meaning your tax dollars will go to confiscate firearms from law-abiding gun owners. Another problem with red flag is that they only take away guns. As we've seen overseas in countries which heavily regulate firearms, deranged people find other ways to cause harm. Red flag laws don't take away knives, cars, prescription drugs, or any other dangerous items. Confiscating legally owned firearms is the only objective of these laws. Red flag gun confiscation laws are also ripe for abuse. It's similar to something you see in communist China, where a citizen is punished prior to committing a crime. And even abusive partners and criminals could use red flag laws to disarm their victims. Now, to go even further, these laws don't even provide penalties for false accusations. Not to mention, lives will be at stake if we get a national red flag law. Both civilians and law enforcement will be put in dangerous situations due to the unannounced raids to seize firearms. Now, this happened in Maryland, where a law-abiding gun owner was shot in his own doorstep at 5 in the morning during a dispute about a red flag confiscation order. And my final and maybe most compelling reason for opposing red flag gun confiscation laws is they allow for zero due process. You will be deemed guilty until you prove yourself innocent. Not one state with red flag laws on the books allow for due process. In fact, it is impossible for due process in any pre-crime laws. Not to mention, the burden of proof is much lower to take the guns than to get them back. So there's no question about it. These red flag gun confiscation laws are unconstitutional and dangerous. We need every pro-gun patriot involved in this fight. It's the biggest push we've seen for gun control since the Obama agenda in 2013. So please, text red flag to 67076 and call your senators' state offices. Right now, while they're on recess, insist on no gun control. You can also join the fight by going to nationalgunrights.org. Thank you.
This is hands down the best video we've ever done.
What's that?
Hands down, best video we've done.
Really? I fumbled a few things.